Revealed, the incredible journey of a poor old maid who turned out to be a billionaire's mother. Alice Thompson was no ordinary old maid. In a small Midwestern town, where whispers buzzed thick as summer heat, she ran a quaint thrift shop filled with memories. With every second-hand treasure, she shared laughter and stories with local kids. Yet, behind her warm smile was a heart heavy with the weight of sacrifice and estrangement from her only son, Andrew Wilson, a billionaire who had turned his back on his roots. The sharp contrast of her weathered hands, calloused yet tender from years spent nurturing her garden, told a story of resilience that few knew. In the diner down the street, townsfolk gossiped over coffee. If she only had money, she could be something. They saw her as the poor old maid, unaware of the brimming pot of love and dreams stewing inside her. Alice longed for a connection with Andrew, who had forged a new identity high above the clouds of wealth, built on the ashes of family ties. Unbeknownst to her, Andrew's world was unraveling beneath the glitz and high-rises. Just as he had cast aside his past, his empire now quaked under deceit, leaving him to confront the bitterness of his ambition. As the morning sun spilled golden rays across her tiny shop, Alice tended to the plants that thrived under her care, reflecting the nurturing spirit that had long shaped her life. She pressed the soft petals of a sun-kissed daisy to her cheek, sighing softly, wishing for her son to walk through that door, to feel the love and warmth that haunted the empty spaces of her heart. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just at that moment, the bell over the door chimed, and Andrew stepped into the shop. Freshly pressed and adorned with the weight of his success, he looked out of place amongst the mismatched chairs and towering shelves. Their eyes locked, and the air thickened with unspoken words. The silence between them shouted their pain. Decades of hurt spun into a mere heartbeat. "Mom?" he whispered, voice trembling like a newborn fawn. There it was, the little boy she once knew, even hidden beneath the hardened shell of success. Powerless, her heart soared and ached in the same breath, forcing out the breathy words, "Andrew, I never stopped loving you." Tension crackled in the air, their history hanging heavily like last autumn's leaves, unwanted yet inseparable. She could see the cracks in his armor, and he could see the pride in her eyes, painted further by years of longing and sorrow. "How could you leave?" she murmured, tears shimmering in the corners of her eyes. As they began to peel back the layers, revealing vulnerabilities long buried, the sun lit the corners of the room like a spotlight on their collided worlds. A storm brewed inside Andrew as he faced the truth of wealth, the hollowness that often accompanied it. Alice stood firm, embodying the strength of a mother's love. Would they finally bridge the chasm of time and misunderstanding, or would they slip back into the shadows once more? The door swung open, and the wind scattered her carefully placed signs as both mother and son braced for the storm ahead. Time hung thick with unspoken questions. Could forgiveness be achieved? Would love conquer wounds made from ambition or societal judgment? As their confrontation echoed in the silence, it became apparent that their journey was just beginning. Silence filled the thrift shop, wrapping itself around Andrew and Alice like a heavy blanket. The air was charged, every tick of the clock on the wall punctuating the weight of their reunion. Andrew took a hesitant step forward, eyes flickering from the dust motes dancing in the sunlight to the tear-streaked face of the woman who had given him life. I didn't think I'd ever come back here," he confessed, his voice a raw confession. It was as if the words cascaded from him, unfiltered and tinged with regret. Alice's heart squeezed. She waited, biting her lip, hoping he would continue, hoping he would let her in. "Things got complicated," he said, running a hand through his slicked back hair, a familiar nervous habit from childhood. "I thought I could build something better than what we had." Alice finished softly, the hurt palpable in her chest. "Andrew, you're better than the distance you've placed between us. Better than the walls you've built." His gaze dropped to the floor, shame swirling in his azure eyes she recognized despite the years, filled with memories of childhood laughter. I thought I could prove myself, Mom. I thought I had to be someone else to be worth something. The fast-moving world outside her windows faded, the hum of life becoming background noise to their shared moment. Alice's heart thudded as she stepped closer. But you are worth something to me. You always were. It's who you choose to be that matters, Andrew. A flicker of surprise danced in his expression, as if he suddenly saw her not just as the mother he left behind, but as a person with her own story. What do you want from me? He blurted, frustration breaking through the surface. You don't know what it's like, the things I've done, the people I've hurt. The truth swayed between them like a pendulum. You're right, she admitted quietly. I don't. But I know pain. I know what it means to lose, to feel abandoned. You think that wealth can fill that hole, but it can't. As her voice grew stronger, a spark ignited within Andrew. Deep-rooted emotions, buried for too long, began to surface. I lost my way, Mom. I was chasing something that was never real. What if you let me help you find it? She offered, hope billowing within her. A mother's love could rebuild what was broken, if only he would let her. Andrew rubbed his temples, feeling the burden of ambition pressing down like a weight on his chest. You don't understand. What I don't understand is why you haven't let me in. Her eyes gleamed with unshed tears. Why you didn't call, Andrew, even once. A silence followed, heavy and profound. It was in those moments that each realized they were standing on the edge of a precipice, the fear of falling outweighing the thrill of flight. Could he take that leap back into her warmth? Could he risk tearing down the fortress he had built for so many years? I want to, he finally whispered, his voice catching as he looked up, vulnerable in the light filtering through the window. But I don't know how. In that instant, the door swung open again, this time bringing in more than just the breeze. It filled the shop with the energy of possibility and the potential for change. Alice's heart raced as she readied herself for whatever revelation was about to come. What if the answer was waiting all along? She said, fear mingling with determination. What if love was the key? As they stood there, enveloped in the moment, new questions began to swirl around them like autumn leaves caught in a gust. What processing would this journey require? Were they both ready to dive deep and unearth the truths buried beneath years of silence? Andrew hesitated, then finally met her gaze again, his resolve hardening. Let us find out together. With those words, they stepped forward into the unknown, hope igniting a shared path. As the future stretched out before them like a road yet to be paved, what would they discover as they began this new chapter together? The moment felt electric, a palpable shift in the air. With courage and trepidation mingling in his chest, Andrew let Alice take his hand. It was a small gesture, yet it held the weight of years lost, of moments unshared. Their fingers threaded together, grounding him, reminding him of a simple yet profound truth: he was not alone. Where do we start? He asked, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. Alice smiled softly, an inviting warmth washing over her. How about we begin with honesty? Share what you've been holding back. He exhaled slowly, searching for words that felt right. There's so much. It's hard to know where to begin. Start with why you left, she encouraged, her voice steady. You don't have to be afraid anymore. Andrew frowned, memories flooding his mind like a rushing river. He could see the younger version of himself, the boy desperate for approval, the man chasing shadows. I felt suffocated. It was as if everyone expected me to be perfect, to achieve things I didn't even want. So you ran away, Alice inferred, her tone laced with empathy. She squeezed his hand, encouraging him to keep going. What did you think you were running towards? Success, maybe, freedom, he shrugged, feeling the weight of shame creep back in. But instead, I found emptiness. I always thought if I accumulated wealth and success, I'd fill this void inside of me. Alice's heart sank for him. And did it work? No, he admitted, his voice shaking. The more I had, the more alone I felt. It was never enough. He could see the pain mirrored in her gaze. This was where the journey had to begin, an acceptance of the past. embracing the scars that had shaped them both. I thought distancing myself would make things easier for you two, like you could forget about the son who abandoned you. And did it? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. No, he replied, swallowing hard. All it did was make the ache worse. Their eyes locked, and in that shared silence, they began to understand the dance of grief and regret. The wound of separation hurt, but now they had a chance to heal. Alice felt a surge of hope. Let us change the narrative then, she said, her voice gaining strength. Let us not allow fear to govern our story any longer. We can rewrite it together. Andrew raised an eyebrow, curious. What do you mean? Let us forgive ourselves. Forgive each other, too. Her gaze softened, filled with an unyielding love. It's never too late to start over. He closed his eyes, the weight of her words sinking in. Was it really possible? Forgiveness felt foreign, like something just beyond his grasp. I want that, I really do. His voice trembled with raw vulnerability. But how? By taking small steps. By being honest, even when it's hard. We can confront the past together, create new memories. It'll take time, but we can do it. Andrew opened his eyes, a flicker of determination igniting within him. Could he find the strength to chip away at his fortress, piece by piece, brick by brick? Okay, he said, letting out a breath, feeling lighter already. I'll try. At that moment, a bell chimed as another customer entered the thrift shop, breaking their intimate moment. It startled Andrew, and for a split second, he felt a pang of fear. But Alice tightened her grip, anchoring him. Look, even in the chaos, we are here, right now, she reminded him. A soothing calm settled over them. The moment was a reminder that life continued, that their relationship was worth fighting for. As they turned to face the intrusion, new people and their stories filled the shop. Excitement and anxiety buzzed in the air, an unexpected opportunity to embrace a myriad of lives, both damaged and whole. What if we learned something from them too? Alice hinted playfully, her eyes shining with mischief. Andrew chuckled softly, the tension unwinding slightly. I guess we could. Or maybe they'll teach us what we've been missing. They exchanged glances, a renewed sense of hope shimmering between them. The past was still a part of who they were, but it didn't have to define them. Somewhere among the shelves of old clothes and forgotten treasures, there lay lessons waiting to be uncovered. As they began to move through the shop, hand in hand, the air filled with potential. What awaited them around the next corner? What new truths would life reveal in the small wonders, the shared smiles, and the stories yet to unfold? Embracing this journey together felt right, but the future still held many questions. Could they really forge a bond stronger than the one that had been lost? Would they steer their love ahead, illuminated by this rekindled connection? At that moment, surrounded by whispers of the past and promises of the future, Andrew and Alice took their first steps down a path filled with hope and uncertainty. Together, they ventured forward, ready to uncover the unexpected. Andrew and Alice stepped deeper into the shop, their hands intertwined, navigating through racks that held stories of lives lived. Each garment seemed to whisper secrets, a tapestry of nostalgia woven into the fabric. The bell above the entrance continued to ring as more people wandered in, creating a symphony of laughter and chatter that filled the space. Look at that! Alice exclaimed, pulling Andrew's attention toward a vibrant blazer hanging among the more drab colors. It looks like it has a story to tell. She approached it, her fingers gently brushing the material. It does look unique, he responded, feeling his heart open a little more with her enthusiasm. The colors reminded him of summer sunsets, warm and inviting, unlike the icy crispness he often felt inside. Alice held the blazer up against her, and Andrew couldn't help but smile at the joyful light that sparkled in her eyes. It reminded him of their youth, when they would try on silly hats and laugh until their stomachs hurt. See? There's hope in these little moments, she said, her voice soft yet invigorated. As she turned to walk away, Andrew noticed a group of shoppers approaching. Among them was a middle-aged woman with laughter lines engraving her face, a twinkle in her eye. Beside her was a young girl, perhaps 10 or 11, who couldn't stop fidgeting with the edge of her floral dress. "Isn't that just the cutest?" the woman exclaimed, pointing toward a vintage handbag woven with colorful threads. The girl's eyes lit up like the sun breaking through clouds. "That's incredible," Alice said, already moving to join them. Andrew trailed behind, absorbing their energy, feeling less like an outsider and more like a part of something larger. "Do you think it's real leather?" the girl asked, her voice filled with intrigue. "It must be. Let me check." Alice bent down, inspecting the label. The way she engaged with the little girl reminded Andrew of a natural teacher, excitedly unraveling a mystery together. Andrew stood back, letting their joy wash over him. He realized that each of these strangers was carrying a piece of their story, just like him and Alice. Even in their unfamiliarity, they were connected in moments of discovery. As Alice returned to him, she wore a triumphant grin. She decided to give it a try. "Isn't it wonderful to see that kind of spark?" Andrew nodded, feeling a warmth spread through him. "It really is," he said, fighting to hold on to the moment. Yet a pang of doubt flickered at the edge of his mind. Could they truly recreate their own spark after so much time apart? "I was thinking," Alice began, her expression turning serious. "Maybe we could start a little tradition? Something simple, like a monthly adventure here together." "Like what?" "Thrift shop exploring?" he teased, lightening the weight of uncertainty that threatened to pull him down. "Exactly. Every month, we see what we can find, what stories unfold. It could help us build memories." Her eyes were wide with hope, and for a brief moment, Andrew felt the heavy clouds begin to lift. "I'd like that," he murmured. "But what if we don't find anything worth remembering?" Alice stepped closer, her voice firm yet gentle. "It's not just about the things we find, it's about the time we spend together and the moments of joy we share along the way. We'll treasure the little things." Andrew repeated her sentiment in his mind, believing that, perhaps, what they sought wasn't just buried treasure or forgotten promises, but the understanding they gained as they navigated this new phase of life together. Just then, the bell chimed again, pulling their attention away from each other. An older man entered the shop, his hands laden with bags, an air of mystery surrounding him. Alice tilted her head, intrigue flashing in her eyes. "Who do you think he is? What do you think he is searching for?" Andrew felt a jolt of excitement. "Maybe he has a story we need to hear," he said. As they exchanged glances, a shared curiosity ignited between them. "Let us go see," Alice said, her voice vibrating with possibility. They moved toward the man, anticipation bubbling in their stomachs. Could this encounter lead them to deeper connections, new lessons, or perhaps even a glimpse of their future? Andrew's heart raced. They were stepping into uncharted waters, but for the first time in a long while, he felt ready to dive in. What would this stranger reveal about life, love, and themselves? Andrew felt a rush of curiosity as they approached the older man. The stranger stood tall, his hair a graying halo around a deeply lined face, each wrinkle marking stories of his own. He shifted the weight of his bags, revealing a faded leather satchel in one hand and a worn book in the other. Alice's excitement seemed contagious. She pressed closer, her gaze narrowing in concentration. "Excuse me, sir," Alice said, her voice bright. "We couldn't help but notice your collection. What treasures do you have there?" The older man paused, a glimmer of surprise reflected in his eyes. "Ah, you see more than just fabric and old pages, don't you?" he replied, his voice warm yet gravelly, like a beloved old record. There was something comforting about it. It beckoned their attention. "Yes. Stories, memories," Andrew chimed in, feeling a spark of connection ignite between them. "What's your favorite?" He shifted the satchel, revealing a stack of vintage postcards. Each card holds a place, a moment, a person. "The best part? They all teach us something." His words trailed off, as if caught in reverie. Alice leaned in, her curiosity piqued. "Can we look?" "Of course. Just be careful. Each postcard has a history." The man smiled, his expression brightening. She took one carefully, marveling at the image, a black and white snapshot of a beach long before it became overrun by tourists. St. Augustine, Florida, Alice whispered, her fingers tracing the edges. Did you go? The man chuckled softly. Many years ago. I spent summers there with my parents. Those were carefree days. Andrew exchanged a glance with Alice, noting how nostalgia wrapped around them like a warm blanket. What made you keep them? Andrew ventured, sensing a deeper story behind the man's eyes. They remind me that time isn't just a series of days, it's the people we meet and the emotions we share along the way. Life isn't always bright sometimes, it's about gathering the darkness as well. Andrew felt a wave of understanding wash over him. The man wasn't just sharing vintage pictures, he was sharing wisdom etched by life itself. Alice's brow knit in pursuit of the unspoken layers beneath the man's words. Did you ever think about what you might have lost, or wished you could find again? She asked gently. He paused, eyes drifting toward the laughter of a child across the shop. Oh, my dear, often. But it's the hope of connection that gets me up every day. Even in the shadows, there's a light waiting to break through. Andrew felt a tug in his heart. He thought of his own journey with Alice, the moments they lost and found again, the memories aching for revival. May I see that? The man asked, pointing to a striking postcard Alice held. As he scanned the untouched postcard's surface, Andrew sensed an undercurrent that made him lean closer. The older man's fingers trembled slightly, a deep emotion was evident. I wrote a letter to someone I loved right here, long ago, he started, his voice thick with sentiment. But it never reached her. Andrew felt a tightness in his chest. Here was a man who lived with the weight of unfinished conversations and unsaid words. What happened? Alice urged, the innocent curiosity of her question hanging heavy in the air. The man looked up, as if he was choosing his words carefully. I lost my chance to tell her everything. Andrew and Alice exchanged a glance filled with shared vulnerability. It was one thing to share a physical presence with someone and another to share the depths of oneself. Do you believe it's ever too late to say those things? Andrew asked, his voice softer now, almost pleading for reassurance. The man hesitated. Depends on how open your heart is. Even if years have passed, a story can always pick up where it left off. Alice's eyes sparkled with renewed determination. Then let us create new stories. Tell us more. Or maybe the man's gaze shifted to the door as if sensing something. Maybe it's time for you both to discover your own chapters. Andrew felt a thrill of anticipation. What did he mean? Wait. What do you mean? Alice called out, ready to dive deeper into this conversation. But before the man could respond, he turned abruptly. The bell above the door announced his departure, sending a chill through the air. As silence enveloped them, Andrew felt a whirlwind of emotions. What was it that lingered just beyond their grasp? Will he come back? Alice whispered, glancing toward the door. Maybe, Andrew replied, excitement wrapped in uncertainty. They stood there, hearts racing, brimming with unanswered questions. What truths lay waiting in the echoes of their discussion? Would they uncover secrets from their own pasts that could change everything ahead? Andrew felt a mix of confusion and longing as he watched the door swing shut behind the older man. His heart raced with the thrill of the encounter, but questions swirled in his mind like leaves caught in the wind. Alice shifted beside him, her enthusiasm palpable. Do you think he'll come back? I hope so, Andrew replied, feeling the warmth of Alice's presence beside him. There's something special about him. Special how? She asked, a sparkle in her eyes. It's like he carried the weight of his stories, you know? There's wisdom in his words. The way he talked about lost letters. Imagine if he could still find her. Wouldn't that be amazing? Alice said, her voice breathy with imagination. She held the postcard tightly, as if it could unlock a hidden door to the man's past. It would be, Andrew mused. But it makes me think about our own stories. What if we have things we need to say, or unresolved moments we need to clarify? Alice's smile slipped just slightly as she pondered this. Like what? He hesitated, contemplating the vulnerability of sharing. I mean, what if we lost touch with people important to us? What if we stopped writing our own letters? Alice looked straight at him, her youthful intensity demanding answers. Do you feel that way? About someone? The air thickened with unspoken words. Andrew diverted his gaze momentarily, the weight of his thoughts pressing down on him. Maybe. I think we all have someone we wish we could reach out to, even if we don't always acknowledge it. Her brow furrowed, and Andrew could tell she was considering the implications of his words. I guess that's why we shouldn't wait. We should write our own stories now. Absolutely, he agreed, a sense of possibility awakening in him. The flickering light overhead combined with the excitement in Alice's expression made the shop feel alive, as if demanding that they take a leap of faith. For a moment, they stood in silence, letting the hustle and bustle of the shop swirl around them. Then, Alice took a deep breath. I have a great idea. Let us map out our own stories right now. Map them out how? He asked, intrigued by her energy. You said we should write letters. Let us start with the people we haven't connected with in a while. We can write them right here. Her voice carried an infectious energy, her spirit daring him to join. Andrew felt the warmth of inspiration spark within him. Maybe it was time to reach out, to reconnect with the past. Okay, who should we write to first? Alice thought for a moment before replying, what about your grandmother? You always mention how much she means to you. He felt a wave of nostalgia wash over him at the thought of her. Yeah, I haven't talked to her in a while. I should definitely reach out. Let us do it. We'll write down everything we want to say and then we can send it together. Alice beamed with excitement, her hair catching the afternoon light as she bounced on her heels. Andrew felt a surge of determination. All right, let us find some paper. As they moved to the back of the shop, he couldn't shake the feeling that something monumental was happening. They were beginning to write their own stories, embarking on a journey that felt as electric as the meeting with the older man. Suddenly, the door chimed, and they both turned in unison. Maybe that's him. Alice exclaimed. Andrew held his breath, hope blooming in his chest. The air seemed to thicken with anticipation as the figure stepped in, heart pounding with the possibility. But as the figure came closer, it wasn't the familiar presence of the old man instead, it was someone he hadn't expected at all. Emily? Andrew gasped, surprised, confusion and excitement coursing through him. What was she doing here? Would this encounter change everything? Emily stood there, a swirl of emotions painted across her face: surprise, uncertainty, and an unmistakable hint of hope. Her eyes met Andrew's, and for a moment, time seemed to suspend. The conversation they'd had months ago felt like a distant memory, yet so vivid in his mind that he could almost hear her laughter echoing between them. What are you doing here? He finally managed to ask, the words escaping like a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Alice stepped slightly back, sensing the tension. She watched Emily closely, her curiosity mixed with the awareness that this was a private moment. I was looking for you, Emily replied, her voice wavering just a bit. I feel like we left things unfinished. A pang of guilt gripped Andrew. He remembered their last conversation, the awkward goodbyes, and the sense of lingering words left unsaid. The ache of lost connection washed over him. Yeah, we did, he admitted. I didn't expect to see you here. Emily took a step closer, and for a split second, the noise of the shop faded away. All he could hear was the flutter of their past, the uncharted territory of their feelings. Can we talk? Just you and me? She asked, glancing at Alice. Andrew felt a mix of exhilaration and apprehension. Was he ready for this? But the intensity in Emily's eyes pulled him in. Sure, he replied, his voice steady despite his racing heart. Maybe we can step outside? Emily nodded, her relief palpable as they moved towards the door. Alice watched, her expression shifting from excitement to something more protective. Are you okay? she whispered as they passed. Yeah, Andrew started, then faltered, not sure how to explain the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside. Outside, the fresh air hit them like a splash of cold water. A tangible silence wrapped around them, broken only by distant laughter and the rustling of leaves in the gentle breeze. Andrew studied Emily's face, the contour of her expressions revealing a mix of vulnerability and strength. I've missed you, you know, she said finally. After everything happened, I kept hoping you'd reach out, but I was scared, he admitted, the truth laying bare between them. I didn't know what to say or if it was too late. I thought you needed time. Emily nodded, her gaze drifting to the ground. I didn't realize how much I needed to talk to you. Ever since I've been thinking about all the little things we shared. The memories clawed at him, the laughter, the late-night talks, the dreams they once spun together like threads. And those things matter, right? He asked, trying to bridge the gap that felt both wide and narrow. They do, Emily breathed, her voice soft but steady. I thought of them as I was packing my things to leave. I just didn't know how to face you after I didn't want things to be awkward. Andrew felt a swell of emotions. What if we could, I don't know, find our way back? Rebuild? Emily looked directly into his eyes, the sincerity in her gaze igniting a flicker of hope. I'd like that. Just then, the door of the shop swung open again, and Alice emerged, her expression curious but contemplative, as if sensing the import of the moment. Are you guys all right? She ventured. Before Andrew could answer, he noticed a faint figure in the distance. Lines of recognition and worry etched across Emily's face as she turned to follow his gaze. A familiar woman, whom he recognized from a photograph long tucked away, approached. Is that your mother? Emily whispered, her voice barely escaping her lips. Andrew's stomach dropped, his heart racing as the moment felt poised on the edge of destiny. Just then, reality smashed into his thoughts with a heavy impact, rekindling feelings he hadn't fully faced. What would this mean for them all? Would meeting his mother unravel or strengthen their connection? Yeah, he replied, his voice shaky with uncertainty. And this changes everything, but would he be ready to confront what was about to unfold? Andrew stood frozen, his mind racing as he processed the sight before him. His mother, the woman he'd avoided like the plague ever since the world turned upside down years ago. Her approach was slow but steady, each step amplifying the knot in Andrew's stomach. Emily was still beside him, her eyes darting between him and the advancing figure. Are you okay? She asked softly, concern etched deeply into her face. Her voice was a lifeline in a rising tide of anxiety. I don't know if I am, he admitted, half focused on Emily, half focused on the past that was marching closer. There was no escape this time, no pretending it didn't matter or hoping it would slip away unnoticed. Andrew. His mother's voice sliced through the distance separating them. It was both sweet and haunting, the tone much the same as when she was trying to soothe him as a child. Yet now, it felt charged with unspoken history. What is she doing here? He thought, his heart racing painfully against his ribs. The last time they'd spoken, he had promised himself it would be the last. But here she was, dressed as always in a modest manner, her presence oddly grounding. As she reached them, Andrew's throat went dry. The familiar warmth of her embrace, the smile that could light up a room, registered somewhere in his heart, but the weight of abandonment and hurt loomed larger. I've missed you, sweetheart, she said, her voice cracking, revealing a vulnerability he hadn't expected. Emily took a small step back, sensing the deep history between them. There was an unmistakable tension that she didn't want to intrude on. Mom, Andrew muttered, words bitter and sweet at once. What are you doing here? I came to find you, she replied earnestly, her gaze unwavering. I knew it was time to face things, to face you. Andrew felt a mixture of resentment and curiosity bubbling within him. What's changed? You left without a word. Why now? His mother hesitated, eyes welling with unshed tears. I know I didn't handle things the right way. I was scared, too. I thought shutting myself off was what I needed. But I was wrong. He watched her face, searching for honesty, wanting to know if this moment was real or just another empty promise. Emily cleared her throat, stepping back into the conversation. Maybe we can talk about this? All of it? Her voice cut through the charged air, daring both of them to confront the past. His mother nodded, her expression grateful that Emily was there, a bridge he had not anticipated. But Andrew felt the weight of his lost childhood rush back. Part of him wanted to hold on to the anger, to the fear that had kept him safe. You don't get to waltz back in and act like nothing happened, he said, emotion tightening his throat. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want a chance, she urged, earnest yet fragile. I want to know you, Andrew. Her voice broke, but she steadied herself. I want to be a part of your life, if you'll let me. Andrew's eyes flicked to Emily, whose own expression mirrored uncertainty. Was he ready to navigate this tangled mess, to unravel the years of hurt? The thought of starting over, of allowing his mother back into his life, felt like leaning out over an unforgiving ledge. Could they really find common ground? Could he trust her, or would it all come crashing down? As the weight of his decision pressed down on him, Andrew saw something flicker in Emily's eyes, a hint of encouragement, or maybe understanding. With a long breath, he met his mother's hopeful gaze. Can you explain what really happened? Why you chose he didn't finish the sentence, the words hanging thick in the air. She took a moment, gathering herself. I can. But please, just hear me out first. And with that, Andrew's heart raced with the uncertainty of facing the truth, knowing this moment would shape their paths forever. What revelations would unravel from the heart of a mother's choices? Would he find the answers he desperately sought, or would the truth blindside him yet again? Andrew's breath caught in his throat as he prepared to hear the truths he had long buried. His mother took a step closer, her hands trembling at her sides, a visible sign of her fear mixed with the hope she was trying to convey. I've thought about this moment for years, she began, her voice steadying with each word. I've wanted to explain, to tell you why I left. The weight behind her gaze was heavy with a lifetime of regrets, and for a moment, time stood still. Go on, Andrew managed to respond, his heart pounding louder than before. The tension in the air was palpable, as if they were at the edge of a cliff, staring into the unknown. I left because I thought I was protecting you, she said, the quaver in her voice betraying the strength she was trying to muster. Your father, after everything that happened, I didn't know how to keep us safe. I thought disappearing was the answer. Andrew's mind spun. Thoughts fought for dominance, anger, confusion, hurt. Safe from what? He pressed, desperation creeping into his tone. Protecting me from a father who made things worse? His mother shook her head, tears now spilling over and carving paths down her cheeks. I was wrong about him. So wrong. I thought it was the best option to take. I convinced myself that leaving would mean keeping you away from the chaos. But what I did, I just created a void. I broke the most sacred bond. Emotion curled in Andrew's chest, a confusing mix that left him feeling raw and exposed. You say you did it for me, but you didn't consider what it would do to me. The silence, the emptiness. I grew up feeling like I was just a ghost in my own life. I know, she whispered, her voice breaking. And I hate myself for it. I'm sorry. I never wanted you to feel that way. I thought I could return once things settled, but they never really did. Time slipped away, and so did I. Andrew's hands trembled as he struggled to grasp her words. So now you want to come back? He asked, refusing to let hope swell in his chest just yet. You think a quick apology will heal the years of hurt? I'm not asking for your forgiveness right now, she implored gently, pleadingly. I just want to talk. To explain everything. I want a chance to know you, to be part of your life, if you'll let me. I've done the work on myself. I'm not the person I was then. His mind raced with possibilities. Rebuilding a relationship felt like walking through uncharted territory, where every step could lead to either a beautiful vista or a dangerous drop-off. Emily, standing quietly with her hands clasped in front of her, chimed in softly, Andrew, maybe hearing her out is the first step. Whatever happened doesn't have to define your future. Her words were wrapped in compassion, grounding him as he swayed between hurt and hope. Maybe, he muttered, still grappling with the intensity of emotions swirling inside him. His mother stepped closer again, her eyes pleading. Just give me an hour, Andrew. Let us talk over coffee, please. This is what I've always wanted. Just one chance. As she spoke, Andrew's thoughts raced back to the child he once was so eager for her affection, so desperate not to feel alone. It felt surreal to be standing here now, a young man confronted by the shadow of his past, hoping for a future that didn't seem so bleak that he inhaled deeply, the weight of her gaze grounding him, but also expanding that ever-growing knot in his stomach. Could he really open the door through which so many emotions rushed, or was it better to keep it shut, locked away for good, as he contemplated the decision that could reshape not only his life but also his mother's? He felt a flicker of resolve. But with that came fear. What if her explanation held more secrets? The uncertainty hung in the air like an unsolved riddle, tantalizing and heavy. What if everything she did was just leading up to a lie that bound our lives in darkness? The question echoed silently within him, a silent threat that shadowed opportunity, and in that profound moment filled with possibility, Andrew realized he stood at a crossroads. Would he crack open the door to the past, or let it remain firmly shut? With uncertainty wrapped around him like a cloud, Andrew's heart raced at the thought of what dawn awaited him. Would it be filled with promise or pain? Would the truth set him free or shackle him to old wounds? Alice watched the exchange with bated breath, her heart racing for her son. The door that had been slammed shut between Andrew and his mother loomed before them, hinged on the fragility of whispered truths. Andrew stood, silhouetted against the shop's light, caught between the past and the possibility of something new. I need time, he finally managed to say, his voice trembling slightly. The silence, heavy with anticipation, felt like a lifeline suspended in the air. His mother looked almost relieved, the tension easing around her features. Take it, she replied softly, her tone filled with understanding. I can wait. I just want you to know I'm here when you're ready. Andrew took a deep breath, his blue eyes glistening with unspent emotions. The weight of years lost pressed heavily on his heart, a bittersweet reminder of the life that could have been. He dared to meet Alice's gaze, her patient smile urging him on. Let us go grab a coffee, then, he said, a flicker of resolve igniting within him. And let us see where this can lead. Hope sprouted in Alice's chest as she nodded, her heart swelling with the belief that reconciliation was possible. They all turned, leaving the thrift shop behind with its dusty stories and layered memories, stepping into the brilliant sunshine that danced on the sidewalk. The world outside was vivid, alive. As they walked, Andrew stole a glance at his mother, who ventured a tentative smile. I can tell you about everything, how I struggled after leaving. The regrets that haunted me. I want you to understand, Andrew, how hard it was to be apart. I never wanted to hurt you. I know you didn't, he murmured, heartened by her raw honesty. Each word felt like pieces of brick being laid down. Maybe, just maybe, they could start to build something new from the ruins of their past. It wasn't just about finding absolution, it was about finding connection. The real world can be different from dreams, she continued, her tone rich with emotion. But it's that connection, our connection, that I missed the most. Even though I wandered away, you never left my heart. Tears swelled up at the corners of his eyes, driven by a strange mixture of sadness and relief. Mom, I spent so long feeling like I had to succeed without you, without knowing why you disappeared. Andrew's voice broke, raw with tension. Let us rewrite that narrative, she said, her voice strong yet soft, the encouragement weaving a gentle path forward through their past hurts. Let us take steps together, one at a time. Alice followed closely, her heart bubbling with a light optimism. After navigating the world of pain and isolation, there stood the sweet dawning of hope, an extraordinary feeling. This community was more than just a thrift shop, it symbolized resilience, a tapestry of shared lives. Can we include coffee dates in this new chapter? Andrew asked suddenly, a hint of playfulness in his tone. It took Alice a moment to realize he was making a suggestion, not just a statement. The prospect of bonding over shared cups steeped in warmth felt refreshing. Absolutely. His mother replied, her laughter threading through the air. Coffee dates filled with stories old and new. Laughter bubbled up in Alice at that moment. The idea of transforming painful memories into precious ones filled her with warmth. It was exhilarating to think about how they could redefine their connection. She found herself wanting to nurture and watch this relationship bloom. As they continued walking towards the cafe nestled down the street, Andrew turned to Alice. Thanks for being here. I don't know how I would have faced her without you. No need for thanks, she replied warmly. We're family now. Every good story starts with a family that believes. With every step they took, the air filled with hope and connection. This was the promise of a new beginning, the weaving of hearts that had long been apart. What they found ahead would be rich with laughter, shared coffee, stories, and ultimately, healing. As they reached the cafe door, Alice paused and turned to Andrew and his mother, a glimmer in her eye. Remember, she said, no story is ever finished. We can always add new chapters. And just like that, with an embracing energy, they stepped into the cafe, ready to pen the next adventurous pages of their lives together. They would laugh, cry, and discover anew as intertwined as the fabric in Alice's thrift shop, shimmering with life and love. Their footprints not only marked the pavement of the cafe entrance but also carved a path to the future, one built with connection, understanding, and the undeniable pull of a family's bond. And now, dear friends, let your hearts and minds open to these powerful narratives of connection and growth. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories, leave a like now to feed the algorithm, comment below your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to support this journey and uplift the stories that bind us together. Don't wait not even one more second to share.